I know that you're in the midst of your meeting, and I appreciate you taking a break so that we could publicly confirm that which everyone has known for 24 hours, and that the board and I are in agreement with a new leader for our educational endeavors in this state. It's clear that you can't keep a good secret quiet, and I am pleased with the early comments about Stefan that have already appeared. But I'm pleased to be joined by Stefan Pryor as our collective pick to head the State Department of Education. Nancy Wyman and I are extremely excited about working with him. Let's be clear that I think educational issues are important. I made a calculated decision going into the last legislative session that with all of the issues that we needed to deal with, that we would defer to this session to take up major educational, that is pre-K through 12 educational issues. And I look forward to working with the board as well as the legislature, and the education leadership is here in making sure that we put our system in line to close an achievement gap that simply is too large in too many of our communities. I steadfastly believe, that all of our children deserve a quality educational experience in any municipality in which they live in the state of Connecticut. And I think Stefan is the right candidate to bring about all of the changes necessary to move this state in the direction of guaranteeing that success. And it's not good enough to say that everyone will have an opportunity to learn. We've got to do everything in our power to make sure that every child does, in fact, learn. We have to hold ourselves to a higher standard than that which we have talked about in the past, the expression of opportunity. What this needs to be about is results, and doing everything in our power to bring about the results necessary to allow our children to be successful in their lives here in the state of Connecticut. And a step further, to make sure that all of the corporations and job producers that are currently in our state or that we seek to attract to our state have the human capital necessary to be successful and to project that success over the next 20 or 30 years. I think that Stefan is the right candidate to do this. As Deputy Mayor for Economic Development in Newark, Stefan is responsible for economic development, workforce development, housing, and city planning. Stefan's team has also overhauled Newark's underperforming workforce development system, education-related, created an award-winning prisoner reentry program, and operated an annual summer youth employment program that this year offered jobs to 1,500 students at over 100 work sites across the city. From 1998 to 2001, Stefan served as the Vice President for Education at the Partnership for New York City, where he led the organization's public education efforts and served as the Executive Director of its main school reform program. The partnership's work focused on attracting philanthropic funding to lower-performing New York City public school districts in order to introduce a range of innovations, including performance measurement and compensation, lead teacher programs, principal signing bonuses for hard-to-staff and low-performing schools, and low-cost mortgages for educators. In the mid-1990s, Stefan served as a policy advisor to the mayor of New Haven on issues ranging from housing and community development to education. While in New Haven, Stefan co-founded and served as the first board president of Amistad Academy, a high-performing public charter school that now serves as the flagship for Achievement First network of schools. Stefan served on the board of Achievement First, which has opened 20 academies under 10 charters in Connecticut and New York. Amistad Academy was highlighted by the U.S. Department of Education in 2007 as one of 7 schools in the country that are models for closing the achievement gap. In recent years, Stefan has collaborated with Paul Vallis, the former school superintendent of Chicago, Philadelphia, and New Orleans, a recovery school district, regarding plans for school rebuilding and reform in post-disaster Haiti. Stefan is the son of 2 public school teachers and received his bachelor's degree in psychology and law degree from Yale University, where he completed the Yale Teacher Preparation Program. Stefan acknowledged acknowledge his understanding. I should acknowledge his understanding and his hard and thorough work ethic as something that's clearly attracted me to his candidacy. I'm very happy that he has the right skill set necessary to work with the legislature in the coming months to make sure that all of our children have what we aspire for them. So, Stefan, it's great to have you join our team.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Chairman, members of the State Board, this is truly an honor, truly a pleasure. Governor, now, I think I heard you reference my work ethic with an implication that you expected to see it continue.
Yes.
I heard that loud and clear, and I pledge to you that it will. This really is a great honor in my life, and it's truly a pleasure to be here. It's an honor in particular to stand here with a governor and with a team that has already achieved so much in this state, forging consensus and achieving progress in that manner. It's truly a model for the country, and I think we can apply a similar ethos and a similar approach to public education. In my career, I've had the chance to observe how a mandate for change and how real progress can emerge from the most difficult of conditions, ranging from Lower Manhattan's recovery from September 11th to Newark's recovery from decades of disinvestment. In public education here in Connecticut, there are bright spots and best practices, to be sure. There are excellent schools and there are exemplary districts. But there are also too many places where students are not fulfilling their potential, where their performance levels are simply too low, where their college prospects, career prospects, and life prospects are not what they should be. This situation merits a mandate for change. We must respond with real and sustained urgency. In one of the most affluent states in the country, we simply cannot permit these inadequate and inequitable conditions to persist. And I believe with this governor and with this State Board of Education and with this General Assembly, we have arrived at an important moment in Connecticut. It's a moment when we are unifying around a fundamental sense of mission, that we can and must achieve educational excellence throughout our state. Simply put, providing an excellent education for all of our children is the key to our state's future. This is our mandate and our mission. Over the coming months, I look forward to reaching out to the state's stakeholders, from teachers to students, from parents to principals, from labor leaders to business leaders, to create, prioritize, and refine our agenda. The consultation process and transition process starts with many of the people in this room, and I'm grateful for your confidence and your support. I truly am. This process is something that we'll be defining more in the coming days and weeks. Let us move forward together with real and sustained urgency. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good job. With your permission, we'll take a few questions. Okay. Any questions?
This is not a traditional choice, I guess I would say, for a commissioner of education without a doctorate in education. I mean, is there? You've had some other out of the choice boxes.
I was going to say
out of the box choices. Sorry. Yeah.
It's certainly right in my sweet spot. I have to acknowledge that this is outside the box, but I think circumstances dictate that we get as bright and as a hardworking and as accomplished a person to head the department at this time, and to direct our efforts around increasing achievement across all municipal lines, racial lines, wealth lines. And I believe that he has the appropriate skill set. And I think if you look at the diversity of experiences, all of which over a 20-year period of time have related to education in one way or another, he's the right candidate. I'm sorry? He's going to start the first week of October.
Stefan's background with Amistad Academy, does that signal a theme that you'd like to see in future reforms to come about in Connecticut?
I think that if you think about education and in the remarks that I just heard, it's referenced. We have best practices. What we have failed to do in many of our systems is to replicate those best practices. And so I think that there are lessons to learn from Amistad Academy. I think there are lessons to learn from Trailblazers Academy in Stanford. I think there's lessons to learn from great intra and inter-district magnet schools as well as comprehensive high schools. Let's be about discovering that which is most likely to bring about the highest achievement rates, regardless of what it's called.
When did Mr. Pryor come to your attention? Did he apply to you, or did you seek him out?
I've known of his work for a period of time. We've had a series of conversations, and I've thought about him and reached out to him and encouraged him to apply for this position. By the way, I encouraged other people to apply for the position as well. But if you're asking me, am I happy? The answer is yes, I am happy.
How many candidates were
I
in the final?
out of the application pool, I know that I picked out 5 resumes that I thought were exciting and represented, at least on paper, some of the skill set necessary to do this job. Having said that, I'm extremely happy that we have a consensus on the right candidate to lead the system at this time. Anybody else? Hey.
How do the lessons of New York City and Newark apply to this particular job? And I'd like to hear your answer as well as Mr. Pryor's.
Well, I think he has specific education-related experiences in New York City, and I referenced those in my remarks. So I'll leave it up to him to further answer that. Although, Nancy's from Brooklyn. I worked in Brooklyn. He spent a lot of time in New York. Maybe there's a trend there. I don't know. So, but Stefan, you want to?
Sure. When I was in New York City, my career was in education. I worked for the Partnership for New York City, which is a business civic organization, and we recruited philanthropic dollars to support public schools. It was the pre-Bloomberg public school era. There were community school districts that governed education, so we worked in community school districts 19 and 23 in East New York and Ocean Hill, Brownsville. We helped to recruit professionals into those low-performing schools in those districts, among the lowest performing in the city. We provided incentives for hard-to-staff schools to receive better staff to help to reverse the mismatch of talent and need. We worked on providing early notions of using data to inform instruction. We provided assistance to educators who were trying to form networks of mentorship between veteran professionals and exemplary professionals and junior professionals and underperforming professionals in the teaching faculty. And we did a series of reforms like that in those early days of reform in New York City. So I did have direct experience with the school system for a number of years prior to September 11th. When September 11th occurred, I lived a block and a half from the World Trade Center. I was living there when I was working in the schools of Brooklyn. And I was, needless to say, in that close proximity, disrupted, and I was unable to reaccess my apartment. And during that time period, started to work in the recovery efforts. And that ended up being a 5-year endeavor where I became the first employee of the rebuilding agency in Lower Manhattan, and became in years 4 and 5 of my engagement the president or chief executive of the rebuilding agency known as the LMDC. So I think from my experience in New York, the question was in part about that. I do have grounding in the field of education, but also very much in, given the LMDC experience, in creating teams that can be effective. We created the LMDC from scratch, and working under very difficult circumstances to achieve progress.
I want to say one thing that I'm pro-reform as long as it doesn't mean-bashing teachers, and I'm pro-teacher as long as it doesn't mean that I have to stand by and maintain the status quo. I think what we're trying to do is move these systems forward in a holistic fashion, and I think that Stefan has the right collaborative skills to bring that about. Great dialogue between all of the interested parties, clearly this board, as well as local boards, teacher and other paraprofessional representative groups, parents and students themselves. So that's the skill set I was looking for. Took a little while to tie this one down, but I'm glad we waited. Yes?
Have you agreed on compensation yet?
$188,000. All right, thank you. What?
Date of birth?
Mine?
For Mr. Pryor?
That's a very personal question. January 14th, 1972.
And where are you from originally?
I was born in Manhattan. I was raised in New City, New York, a suburb thereof.
Before I walk out this way, and so that Farmer Jones doesn't give me a hard time, when I refer to all things that we have learned, that includes our VOAG, VOTEC programs as well. Okay? Now can I go by? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.